Hey y'all, welcome back to You Had Me at Black. It's Martina. Now, we are in the final weeks of our countdown to our 10th birthday. And if you love You Had Me at Black and want more of these stories, and you want to hear new stories as they come out, and you want first access to kickback tickets because you know they always sell out, if you'd like a chance to connect every month with other people who love this show, then you should join the Patron Circle. Because as much as we have loved counting down and celebrating the last 10 years of You Had Me at Black, we're also preparing for the next 10. And trust me when I say, the next 10 years cannot happen without you. The doors open on May 18th. Visit You Had Me at Black today, right now, at this moment, to learn more and join the waitlist. Now back to our countdown. Take it away, sis.
What's up, y'all? It's Brittany. This week, we're rewinding a story called Joy Trafficking. It comes from Kelly, who grew up in Utah where her family was one of the only Black ones around. She never knew what her parents did for a living until one day the cops showed up at her door. After the story, keep listening to hear Kelly reflect on what the story means to her all these years later. Here's what happened.
I want you to breathe all this in.
You're listening to You Had Me at Black. Black.
Right in the heart of the city.
Black.
Man,
Black.
listen, man.
Black.
This is You Had Me at Black, and we live, baby.
I grew up in Salt Lake City, Utah. I was the youngest of three. People really aren't paying attention to me at this time, so I can get away with everything. I can basically do whatever. I was the daring child. So I really didn't have a lot of fears growing up. Me and my sister shared a room in the basement. And it was a Sunday night. I'm about 5 or 6 years old. And we went to bed at 9 o'clock. So 8:30, I'm in my room, getting ready for bed, turn off the light, and we go to sleep. And I'm being shook. I wake up, and my dad whispers in my ear. It's like, Kelly, do you want to go on a plane? And I look at him, and I'm like, huh? I said, yeah, do you want to go on an airplane? You want to go on an airplane right now? You're old enough that, you can fly by yourself. And I was like, I can fly by myself? Yeah, I want to fly by myself. I felt special. This was going to be fun. He's like, okay, so we're going to go to the airport, and we're going to give your bag to the people, and then we're going to walk over to the gate. And so we get dressed, and we get to the airport, and then next thing I know, we're at the gate. And the stewardess comes up, and she had this hat on and these white gloves, and she bends down at me, and she was like, do you want to come with me? So I looked at my dad, and my dad's like, yeah, Kelly, you're going to go down the thing onto the plane, and you're going to have fun. Don't worry, when you get there, everything's going to be fine. I was like, this is going to be so much fun. So the lady takes me by the hand, and she walks me down the big, long hallway, and we step onto the plane. Nobody sat next to me. I sat by myself. They brought me about 3 Sprites, and then it was time to land. So I get off the plane, and the stewardess takes me by the hand, and she walks me down the long hall, and we turn. And when we get out to where the people are in the airport is, these people are meeting me. There's a man, there's a woman, and 3 kids. I didn't know who they were. It really didn't matter. I was having fun. And then we went and got the suitcase, and we went to their house. They had a pool. We played. We had food. It was just like 3 days of partying for me. By the end of the 3rd day, they repacked my suitcase, and we went to the airport, and we did it all over again. And I flew back. And this time when I got off the plane, my mom and dad were there. They're both really happy to see me. And I went up to them and I hugged them. My dad tells me, really good job. They were really proud of me. I was really happy in that moment. I felt like I had really done something. I wanted to please my dad. I wanted to be a big girl like my sisters. So I wanted to show them that I could do this. And I never got scared during the trip. It was fun for me. I had no idea. We didn't talk about it after that until the next time it was time to go. My mom and my dad had no problem asking me to go. When it was time to go, I went. As I'm getting older, Those trips kind of stopped. Those trips were happening when I was younger, 5, 6, 7 years old. And so I'm in middle school. I'm in 7th grade. I'm in the kitchen, and it's my turn to do the dishes. And so I'm doing the dishes, and I'm scrubbing the spoons. And I turn the spoon over, that's got a black burnt mark on it. And all the spoons have black burnt marks on it. And my sister Leslie's sitting there, and she's doing her homework, and I turned to her and I said, why do we always have black burnt marks on the bottom of our spoons? What's that about? And she was like, I don't know, Kelly. Why do you think they're black? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know why they're black. And she's like, well, maybe that's something you should ask Daddy about. And I was like, okay. So I turned back around and I finished washing the spoons. We didn't talk about it again because of the way that she said it. Like, it's something that it was none of my business and that I shouldn't be asking. I just felt like I wouldn't ask about the spoons. At this time in my life, nobody ever said. When I was in middle school, I used to play bonnet ball, and bonnet ball was all girls baseball. We used to have practice across the street from my house. So I was at practice, and I come home, and I'm really surprised to see my mom and my dad and my 2 sisters out in the front yard doing yard work. And so I walk up, and my mom says, Kelly, go inside. There's spaghetti in the kitchen, and when you're done eating, come outside and help us. And I'm like, okay. So I go in the house, and when you walk in our house, there's a wall, and on that wall are mirrors. And the kitchen is just right off that wall. So if you're sitting in the kitchen and you face that wall, you can see who's coming in the front door. So I'm sitting at the chair that gives you the best view to look in the mirrors, and I'm eating spaghetti. I'm still in my uniform. And all of a sudden, boom, the door burst open. And I look up, and there are 2 men standing in the doorway with their guns drawn. So I stand up, and they see me, and they tell me to freeze, don't move. I don't move. They walk toward me. They tell me to come around outside the kitchen. So I come around inside the living room. Both of them look at me, and one of them says, on your knees, interlock your fingers, put your hands behind your head. So I get on my knees, I interlock my fingers, I put my hands behind my head, and they put their weapons away. And don't move, is what he tells me. Do not move. They go into my parents' bedroom. They're in there for a little while. I can hear drawers being opened, things being moved around. And then they come out with these giant tan bricks. Each of them are carrying maybe 3 or 4, and they bring them outside. And at this point, I decide to stand up. And I slowly come to the front door, and I look outside, and there are 2 cars in front of our house. My mom and dad are in the back seat in one of the cars. My dad's on the passenger side in the back seat, and he's talking, he's screaming. And I stand in the doorway for a moment, and when I look around and realize that nobody's really paying any attention to me, I walk down the steps. And I look at my dad, and he looks at me, and we make eye contact, and says, Kelly, come here. I didn't say anything. I just walked up to the car. And he's like, call Fratto. Call Fratto. And then they told me to step back, and then they all got in the car, and they drove away. And I look at my sisters, and they're both crying. And so I go inside the house. Our telephone sat in one area of the house. And in that telephone door was the number of the person, and it said Fratto on it. And Fratto was the attorney. I gave the number to my sister Tracy because she's the oldest. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. I gave it to her. And I asked them, I said, what happened? What's going on? And my sister Leslie was like, they were arrested for heroin, Kelly. I didn't really know what that meant. We don't know what's going to happen. I feel scared. I got up that next morning, I go outside and I get the newspaper, open it up, and on the front page is the largest drug bust in Utah history, the Mexican Connection. And they have all the pictures of the people that were busted in this drug bust. And in the pictures were a picture of my mom and a picture of my dad. And later that day, it is on the news. And when I was watching the news, I saw my parents getting out of the paddy wagon and going into, I guess, the courthouse, and the camera flashing at them and them being in cuffs, and just feeling so incredibly ashamed and embarrassed. I felt relieved when my mom came home. My mom was in jail, I believe, for about a week after the arrest. And I remember the day that she came home. Matter of fact, we went to the jail. When she came out of the room and I saw her, I jumped up and I ran over to her and I hugged her. I wanted to ask what happened, but I didn't. I just hugged her. She never gave an explanation. That was kind of her goal, is we're not going to talk about this and we're going to do what we have to do. And then your dad's in jail or prison. I just accept it. I go with it because I'm happy that she's home. So after the arrest, it's time to go to trial. I thought it was going to be like a courtroom like in television, but the courtroom didn't look anything like that. It looked a lot more plain. So we're sitting in the courtroom and my mom is talking to Mr. Fratto, the man that my father had asked me to call. And then you hear a bang on the door, and then a man comes out and he says, "All rise." And then I hear my dad's name. I turn and I look, and he comes out and he looks so thin. And I'm thinking, this cannot be my dad. His feet are shackled and his hands are shackled. And he's in an orange jumpsuit. I feel angry. I feel like this isn't fair. What did they do to him to make him so thin and look so tired and look so worn? He shuffles to the table that sits in front of where the judge is, and we're sitting in that very front row, so I can reach out and touch him, but they will not let me. The man comes and stops me, and they sit down, and I don't know what they're talking about. I remember looking at my dad and trying to get his attention. I'm jumping up and down and I'm calling his name, "Daddy, Daddy," but he won't turn and look at me. And then everybody stands up again and he leaves the courtroom. He turned and he looked at us, and then they took him and they shuffled him away. And that was the last time that I saw my dad until I was in high school. When I was in high school, I had pretty much figured it out. I knew what drugs were, so I understood. And so when my dad was released from prison, he comes in and he wants to kind of come in where he left off. Headed the household. We had several arguments because he had not been there for so long. I felt like it wasn't right for him to come back and expect to have all the respect he had prior to him leaving. That I was grown up, I understand the things that he did, and watched my mom struggle to raise 3 kids as a single parent. I have a lot of resentment toward my dad. This man is here to ruin my life, so I'm angry, I'm pissed. There's nothing I can do about it though. I felt that it was time for me to leave, so when I graduated high school, I left. Fast forward to, I'm 33, I'm pregnant with my last child, with my son. I'm in the hospital and I'm on bed rest, and my dad would come up and visit me every single day. And so one day we're sitting and I just start asking about the things in my past that I remember. I want to know about why I always got on a plane. What was I doing? So he says to me, "You were trafficking drugs, Kelly, you're a mule." Who would ever suspect a 5-year-old child of taking drugs across state lines, he told me. I also asked him about the burnt spoons, and he said, yes, he was a heroin dealer. That's how he made his money. My dad felt that he had limited options living in Salt Lake City as a Black man. And selling drugs was something that was easy to do relatively, and he made a lot of money doing it. I do regret it, he says. I do have regrets, but it's something that I felt that I had to do. And after he confirmed everything, I felt relieved to know that he was honest with me. He cried that day and he apologized. I didn't forgive him at that point in time, but I understood that he felt that he had to make the choices that he had to make. He wanted to make amends and try to make up for his past indiscretions. And that was the last time that we had that conversation. My dad died in a car accident that following year, about 3 months after my son was born. But I was happy to have that moment with him.
This story, I feel like, came at a really critical time in the You Had Me at Black journey.
Tell me.
So, first, I think around this time the story came out, which was in 2019, I was thinking a lot about like what makes You Had Me at Black, You Had Me at Black. What makes us different? What makes us us, right? What kind of stories can people expect from us? And I really wanted us to be telling stories that you couldn't find anywhere else, stories that you wouldn't find if you turned on the TV. Mm-hmm. And just thinking about our identity as so much more vast than what we typically see in like mainstream Black media. And I started to really think about, okay, what does it look like for us to position ourselves at the margins of the Black community? Mm-hmm. And even though Black people are marginalized people within Black communities, there are further marginalized people. And so what does it look like for us to position ourselves there? And I'm sure that this story, when it happened for Kelly's family, like, you know, it was probably in the news. Yeah. And all the stories probably talked about her parents and what the decisions that they had made and, you know, what happened to them. And I'm like, I bet you there weren't stories that really focused on the way these 3 young girls had to pick up the pieces and what the aftermath looked like for them and what this experience was like from her perspective as a child who had literally no idea what was going on. Like, she didn't realize what the work she was doing for her own family, you know?
That's very, very true.
And so I was really proud that we could be a place to offer that lens and that view. And I felt like this was kind of the beginning of like really wanting to sit in the way that we position ourselves. But what makes the story special to you, sis?
I like drama. I think I just
You want the tea?
What I really like that at the root of the story is a coming of age story, and it just looks different than how we usually think and see coming of age stories. And
yeah, I agree with you.
And I feel like on the surface, people might hear what the story is about and be like, when people think about showcasing Black stories, you often hear a lot of like, we don't want to see Black trauma. And as somebody who is a dramatic writer, I hear that a lot. It's like, it's one of those things where you have to find the balance of like, well, I love the drama, you know, but it's also about finding the root of the story and like what the story actually is. Do you know what I mean? And at the root of this story is a coming of age story, is a story of forgiveness, is a story of innocence taken and trying to understand. And it's a nuanced story.
Absolutely.
And I think when we focus on just the surface of, I don't want to hear Black trauma, we can sometimes miss out on very fascinating stories that deserve to be told.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. This is one of the first stories that we started recording over Zoom. I don't know if you remember, but we're trying to reach more people outside of California and New York, where our team was physically based. And so we started to record remotely. And you could definitely hear the difference in the audio quality because
We're not in a studio.
We're not in the studio. And it was also before COVID. Before the pandemic, there weren't really many remote recording options that sounded good.
Yeah.
So it was like a trade-off that we had to make between, you know, reaching more people, getting more people from around the country, and having that, you know, kind of clearer audio sound.
Yeah.
Pre-COVID, there weren't many options.
Yeah, the struggle was real.
The struggle was real.
But we got great stories from it.
Absolutely. I'm really glad that we did that.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, because I think this season that Kelly's story is in,
One of our strongest.
it's one of our strongest and like really most interesting seasons because we got folks literally from all over the country. I mean,
Yeah.
Kelly was from Utah.
Right, yeah. And we were not rolling up to Utah.
No, we didn't. I wish we had those kind of funds. We did not have that accessible to us at the time.
Yeah. Beautifully said, sister.
Thanks. Should we hear from Kelly?
Let's do it.
When I told that story back in 2018, I was really in a different place in my life. I had been doing a lot of reflecting and soul searching and just trying to figure out who I was, what shapes me, and honestly, what I was supposed to be doing next. I knew that I didn't have to figure it all out then, but I did know that I was in a season where looking back at my life and trying to make sense of it was going to help me move forward. So at the time, that story really meant a lot to me because it explained how and who I was and who I was becoming. What happened to me when I was a child and my parents being arrested when I was 11 was one of those moments that stays with you. And I think a lot of things that happened to us when we were kids plays out to us in the world when we're adults. So for me, that story was connected to identity, and it was also connected to understanding myself. Now when I look back, I think the biggest difference is I just don't see the pain. I see how much I've grown. I see how much that younger version of myself carried the load, and I see how much of that younger version of myself helped me become the woman that I am today. Since then, I've really evolved into someone who wants better, not just for myself, but for my children too. I want to make an impact. I want to be of value, and I want my life and my work to mean something. And so when I look back then, I was still trying to figure out myself inside the story, and now I feel more grounded of who I am outside of it. If I could say anything to that younger version of myself, I would tell her that everything's going to be okay. And that I would tell her that she doesn't need to shrink to satisfy others, and that her validation is her worth. I think I would tell her that it's okay to build your own path, it's okay to be different, and it's okay to stand on your own and be proud of who you are becoming. I would tell her, yes, life is going to be hard at times, but the hard is not the end of the story. She's going to make it through, and she's going to become someone that she can be proud of. And honestly, when I look back, I think of that story and how it taught me how to navigate the negatives and the no's in life without letting them define me. It taught me how to keep moving. It taught me how to build instead of break. And it taught me how to forge my own path going forward. That matters even more to me because now today I've built my own business, Bright Headed Publishing. I have my own podcast, The Author's Mic, and I'm doing work that feels purposeful to me. I'm not just trying to create something for myself either. I am trying to build legacy for me and my children. I'm trying to build something that my children can look at, hold on to, and know that it came from resilience, vision, and the decision to keep going.
This story aired in March 2019 as part of our 6th season. I was knee-deep in searching for a home to root You Had Me at Black so that we could continue to do this work. And that process taught me one thing. If I wanted a home that would truly pour back into this community instead of extract from it, and a foundation that's built on our inherent worth versus having to constantly prove it, then we'd have to build it ourselves. That's what I've been working on in the years that we've been away, and also what I've been having conversations about over on our Substack. The Patron Circle is just one aspect of this rebuild, and I invite you to learn more and to get plugged in on our website, youhadmeatblack.com. Until next week, peace.
This special Rewind episode was written and produced by Martina Abrahams Ilunga and me, Brittany Abrahams. We created You Had Me at Black, and Martina is also our executive producer. Joy Trafficking was produced by Rachel Jones. Miles Dotson made it sound good. Special thanks to Kelly for sharing her story and reflection.